Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Mid Morning. Maybe you've heard them or heard about them, but how much do you know about the cats at Cedar Hill Animal Sanctuary in Lowndes County? Well, my guest this morning, Jana Fry. I was trying to say your name and guest at the same time, and it just sort of slipped up there. All right, so Jana, thank you so much for joining us.
I'm glad to be here.
So I have always heard about Animal Hill Sanctuary since I was a kid and growing up in Lowndes County and part of West Alabama. Talk about, I guess, maybe how long Cedar Hill has been around and kind of how it's evolved maybe over time.
Well, Cedar Hill has been around since 1988. It was founded by Kay McElroy, and it started with an ad on Craigslist over a cougar. Someone had found a cub cougar, and they were housing it in their carport. So when Kay heard about this, she took the opportunity to go visit, and when she saw the deplorable conditions that this cougar was staying in, she said right then and there, I'm going to trade the tractor and take this cougar in. And thus started Cedar Hill. It literally started with a cougar.
Yes, wow. I had no idea.
Yeah.
So now, if someone were to want to learn more information about Cedar Hill, what is it like now?
Now, they would probably see a big difference. We've had a lot more animals added since then. At one time, we were housing up to 15 tigers, 5 lions. We don't have that many now due to the Big Cat Act that was passed back in 2022. Legal ownership of big cats is just non-existent anymore. So anyone that's caught, you get big fine, possible prison time, upwards of $20,000. It's pretty rough. But so now we don't have as many. We now focus more on the small cat crisis. We do get a lot of Bengal mixes, Asian leopard mixes. They think that these cute little exotic cats are fun to have until they show their wild side. And then they get turned over to us.
Yeah, I often think about that with snakes. Like, why would you want to do that? They got to grow up eventually, Well, tell me, like, where do these cats come from?
All over. Some are seized from illegal breeding rings. Some are seized over in other countries when they are setting up illegal petting zoos, cub petting zoos, backyard breeders. You name it. It is still out there very much. And when PETA or ASPCA gets involved, anyone like that, usually we get a reach out. Hey, do you have a space for us to be able to rehouse this animal in a more appropriate environment?
So you get calls from all across the country, all across the world, maybe even?
Mostly across the country.
Okay.
We have had a couple come from other parts of the world. It's been a while since then. We actually house 2 cats now that came from Dubai.
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm. Fantastic. So there is a lot of care and maintenance that has to go into taking care of these wild animals.
Absolutely.
Talk a little bit about that, because I'm guessing that takes up a majority of your time.
It does, and we have a great staff. We have a great tier system. I'm executive director, and then I've got my point of operations, Alexis Mattis, and she rocks the position wonderfully. She gets everybody lined up, and she follows the procedures and protocols, and she makes sure that everybody's on top of following through with the requirements needed to keep everybody and our animals safe during feeding.
So your animals, what do they eat?
Ooh, a variety. Our lions and tigers eat mostly raw beef and chicken, and a lot of that comes through donations. It can cost upwards of 10 grand a year, if not more, to feed one lion. I mean, it's a lot. They eat about 20 pounds of raw meat a day.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Okay. The more you know, the more fascinating it becomes. I tell you what, when we come back, we'll learn some more about the donations and all the other things to know about Animal Hill.
Great.
All right, we'll be right back. Stay with us. All right, welcome back, everybody. Jana Fry here at the table with us this morning from Animal Hill Sanctuary, and we're talking about all of the animals you have there. I recently saw on social media, I think you have a pig.
We do. Her name is Petunia, and she is a Cooney pig. She's about 2 years old. She was brought to us from a young girl that saved her from a breeding ring. And she already tried to rehome her a couple of times and some other sanctuaries, and it just didn't work out. When she reached out to us, I mean, who doesn't want a pig, right?
Well, there you go. Yeah, and that pig was eating a popsicle too, right? That was the picture I saw.
She loves her Rocket Pops. Loves her Rocket Pops.
And I mean, who doesn't?
That's right.
All right, so you were talking before we went to break about the cost that is involved with just feeding, you said 10 grand, I believe, for one lion a year.
Yeah, they eat a lot of beef and chicken, that's for sure.
And I know you're a nonprofit, so how do you go about raising the money and the funds?
Well, it takes a lot of outreach and a lot of staying on top of our social media posts and just getting in touch with our community, really. We look for volunteers. We look for monetary donations. We try to set up small fundraisers or large ones. We have a pretty big one that's going to be coming up in the next month or so. We would like to reconsolidate all of our dogs to one generalized area to make it easier for the caretaker and the dogs, that will also be led straight to an agility run so they get the best exercise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think this is one thing that maybe makes it a little difficult for y'all is that you can't give tours just for safety reasons.
That's right.
Because, I mean, these are truly wild animals and they're going through a rehabilitation. So you really do have to get your story out across social media and
That's right.
working within the community.
That's exactly right. We do not open to the public for multiple reasons. It's not just about safety, but these animals, most of them have already endured so much trauma and been through the ringer, been moved here, been moved there. The last thing that they want is people gawking at them down the fence line. It's very stressful, and big cats, especially tigers, lions, they can actually harbor internal health conditions if they're overstressed.
Okay. Hey, I didn't expect to learn a little animal health today, so that's awesome. Looking forward, maybe 5-10 years down the road, what do you hope that Animal Hill Sanctuary is doing, and what does it look like?
I hope we have more cats. I do hope that we can house and bring in more of the big cats that need our attention, because there's still backdoor breeders out there everywhere. They haven't been found yet, they haven't been discovered, but they're there. And to make sure that we are nationally and locally known, you know, a lot of people don't even know we exist anymore in Caledonia, Mississippi, and we've been there for over 35 years. So more exposure, letting people know that there is a safe haven for animals that truly need it, whether they have physical or sickly conditions, you know.
Well, it is important. All right, real quick, before we run out of time, how can they contact? How can our viewers help?
Sure, you can follow us on Facebook. We're on TikTok and Instagram. You could reach out to cedarhilldevelopment@gmail.com. We are currently reworking our website, so stay posted on that. All the links and everything you can donate to will be posted there.
All right, well, fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us. I learned a lot today.
Absolutely, thank you for having me.
All right, you're welcome. All right, we'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to Mid Morning, everyone. We just completed Heart Health Month, but heart health is year-round health. And joining me now is Dr. Siddharth Reddy, cardiologist with Baptist Golden Triangle. How are you?
Correct. Doing well. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. We were just kind of briefly talking before we came on here, and you, I guess, how do you get the message across to stay heart healthy year-round after February ends?
Yeah, it's a tough thing. It's, like you said, year-round. It's nice to have February when we get a lot of people coming in. The reminder like, hey, let's get our heart checked out. But the biggest things I always say are kind of decisions you make throughout the day. What you're eating, how much you're exercising, how active you are. Some of them you get a choice in what happens, others you don't. But I always try to remind people making small changes is really what makes big differences.
So in your line of practice, what is the most common maybe heart ailment or heart issue that you see?
Yeah, so most of the time we see kind of people coming in with coronary artery disease, blockage in the arteries of their heart. I get the question a lot, hey, how does this happen? What's going on? What can I do to help out? Now, kind of to answer the question, coronary artery disease is plaque buildup in the vessels that supply your heart. This is what leads to heart attacks, which is what a lot of ER visits come down to. Treatment for it, before you see the doctors and do all this stuff, you can help prevent it by eating right and exercising. So I always say a low salt, low fat diet would be ideal. Not always doable, but if you can, always better. And something that we can do kind of almost every day is get 30 minutes of time to exercise.
You know what? That seems to be my problem, is finding that 30 minutes. I don't know where it goes, but I definitely have some 30 minutes that I need to put in. So let me ask you this too. We have a number of food deserts in our region, and basically that's a shortage or lack thereof of access to fresh produce, fresh fruits. And so do you take that into consideration, especially whenever you have patients like from rural areas that come to Columbus to see you?
Absolutely. It does make a big difference. We love to harp on, hey, try to get fresh produce or even kind of freshly frozen produce and eat that. So sometimes when you can't get fresh produce off the stand, some of the frozen stuff will work almost as well. I always say just keep an eye on the label, make sure there's not too much salt and other preservatives added. But that's one way to help yourself out if you are in one of these food deserts.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, so if someone has maybe some plaque buildup in their arteries, talk about some medications maybe that they might be put on, or that kind of a regimen they can expect, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's say you're coming in to get your heart checked out. You don't have to necessarily be having a heart attack or anything else like that, but let's say you got another study done that shows, hey, you may have some plaque. Medications that you'd be on is a cholesterol-lowering medication, typically a statin. You used to see all the commercials for Crestor, Lipitor. A lot of these have become generic, so we get you on a cholesterol-lowering medication that not only lowers your cholesterol, but helps stabilize those plaques to prevent heart disease. Once again, the biggest three things that we harp on are really choices that you can make throughout the day, which is pick something kind of better to eat. Instead of going to the vending machine and grabbing something, maybe there's a fruit bowl around, you can grab one of those. Instead of sodas, pops, maybe a glass of water instead.
That is helpful.
And then even if you can't exercise, because sometimes even I can't get 30 minutes in a day strung together, it can always be broken down and broken apart. Maybe you get 10 minutes at lunch, 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the evening.
There's an idea I need to do. 10 minutes.
Yeah, so the American Heart Association, really, their recommendation is 150 minutes of exercise in a week.
Wow.
Now, that doesn't necessarily mean you need to do 30 minutes 5 times a day. Maybe you do 40 minutes 2 times a day, or whatever you got to do to get you to that number would be ideal.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Reddy, so much for joining us. And we learned a little bit about heart health that you can use all year round. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
All right. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. Across the country, more states and districts are banning cell phones in schools. Supporters argue getting rid of the devices removes distractions from the learning environment and can help address mental health concerns. But others worry the ban removes an important way for parents and students to communicate, especially in emergency situations. Michael Yoshida shows us how one school is experimenting with a creative way to keep device distraction down and student engagement up.
Good morning, everybody. A high school in Arlington, Virginia trying a new way to keep phones out of the classroom.
Pouches and IDs, everybody. Good morning.
At the start of each day,
And have out your pouches and IDs.
students now required to put their mobile devices in a magnet-locked pouch.
The smartphone was really a game changer.
With rising digital distractions posing problems in the classroom.
I was phone police every day.
Every 5 minutes, I would say, put your phone away, phones up, phones away. Yeah, it was a problem.
The pouches at Wakefield High are part of a pilot program as the school figures out the best way to follow a district and statewide ban on cell phones in schools. Across the country, 7 other states have passed similar policies, and 15 states, along with the District of Columbia, have introduced legislation for restrictions.
These types of bans have seen reductions in fights and improvements in mental health and student outcomes.
Still, a common concern is removing students' ability to reach their parents or call for help in an emergency. D.C. Council member Brooke Pinto says Bill, like others, has educational and health exceptions and allows other ways for parents and students to contact each other. But she adds,
In an emergency situation, the last thing we want our kids doing is looking down on their devices. We want them paying attention to the adult in the room, whether that's their teacher or their principal.
You open it up right here.
Despite some growing pains at Wakefield High,
My first thought was how I was going to get around it.
It was just crazy and hectic. Everybody was banging their phones, trying to open it.
there are also noticeable benefits.
It's not as bad as I thought. I think now with less distractions, I can kind of go more in depth on my work, more focused without any distractions.
But now, I force myself to listen.
Some, as teens will do, try to skirt the rules.
You know, pouching either fake phones or old phones or something with that same similar shape. But one of the benefits we're seeing is that they're still keeping their phones away during the day.
But it turns out, life without the world at your fingertips can still bring you someplace new.
I would say we're more talkative now. Like when we see each other, we could talk now because we don't have phones.
Now you actually have to go.
Yeah, now you actually got to go find the person and tell it to them in their face.
In Washington, I'm Michael Yoshida reporting.
Have you ever seen something on social media that's made you angry? So angry that you just have to respond? Well, that may be by design. Rage bait is a strategy used by some social media influencers to purposefully anger you in order to get your attention and content engagement. It's also a tactic often used to spread misinformation, and sometimes creators and influencers profit off your anger. Jamie Cohen, assistant professor in media studies at CUNY Queens, explains what rage bait is and how to avoid falling for it.
So, rage bait, I think I get it, but please explain.
Sure, absolutely. Rage bait is not like clickbait. Clickbait is designed to keep you off the site. It drives you somewhere else. It's an engaging way of wanting to see something that makes your curiosity go up. Rage bait keeps you on the site. Rage bait triggers your anger first before any other emotion.
Is this rage bait a problem on the left, problem on the right, problem everywhere?
Everywhere, yeah. As long as it's incentivized, anyone can participate in it, create it, and do it. So it's not just it's an unpartisan thing, yeah.
So why do people pursue rage bait? Why do they want to put that out there? And what are some examples of it?
So rage bait can be incentivized by certain platforms. Platforms incentivize time spent. That's the term they use. That means the more time that they're on it and the users are on it, the more that somebody else can make money off of that. So some influencers,
Like if they have ads or something like that?
well, they are the ad. So their posts get ads underneath them. So they're their own product. An influencer is a product. They're part of the commodified space online. And one of the easiest ways to keep people commenting, what's known as substantive communication, is causing somebody to want to respond.
Yeah.
So anybody can post something that's not real. Misinformation usually works the best.
Yeah.
And people feel the urge to correct them, feel the urge to make sure that they're being heard, that they're saying, trying to debunk them or try to dunk on them. And that type of action is only beneficial to the influencer.
So is this all like an evolutionary issue where we remember,
Yeah.
anger is something that is triggered before, sort of joy, pleasure, things like that?
Yeah, so this is the easiest emotion to attack because fear and anger are the easiest to approach. So very often if somebody posts something that activates those things, that's the first time you want to feel like you have to say something. It's a compulsion almost. It's like most of social media is a compulsion. We don't have to post. It's something that we do because we want to share our voices and the opportunity is there. But when somebody posts something that angers you, you almost feel like you have to right the wrong. And so that's a tactic. It's tactical media, and that type of tactical media gets people to stay on that platform and just keep on doing it.
Well, we've been socialized, right, to right the wrong, to to defend truth and all of that. But is rage bait usually wrong? Is it usually misinformation, or can it sometimes just be true but somehow flagrant?
I like to say that if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. And if it seems too false to be true, it probably is. And so those types of things aren't always misinformation, but typically people do make things up just to do that.
How widespread is this?
Pretty widespread. Yeah, I would say it's any platform that incentivizes monetization for influencers is where it is.
Is this comparable to shock jocks in the 90s or cable news for that matter, or just a thing your wife said that you don't agree with? Not true.
Appliances belong in the cabinet, Katie.
It's extremely similar to shock jocks, except with digital, it's not something that's passive. It's not something that goes on. It's something that you could spend days on inside the comment section. Just keep on dunking against the influencer and other posters.
Super interesting.
Just woo-saw and keep it moving.
What's woo-saw?
Oh, woo-saw's from, I think, Bad Boys, where it's just like you say woo-saw to calm yourself down. Yeah.
Best
like
tactic.
Calm Blue Ocean.
Yeah.
Take a breath.
There you go.
Congratulations are in order for the nation's most famous bald eagle couple in Big Bear, California. Jackie and Shadow have hatched 2 chicks. The pair became an internet sensation since they became mates in 2018. The first chick hatched late Monday night, with the second fluffy gray eaglet following Tuesday morning. This marked the first time in nearly 3 years that the avian couple has had a successful hatching. Well, that's awesome. All right, thanks so much for joining us, everybody. We hope you have a great day.